Hey guys, I'm Grace Torie, and you're listening to That Girl, the podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in because the new episode is starting now. Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Grace Torie, and I'm back with a whole new podcast episode. Happy Sunday. We have made it. I'm really excited for this episode. I think it's because it's like the first one where I felt like cozy and Christmassy. Like, I know that it's not Christmas themed and we're not gonna be talking about anything Christmas, but I have a sugar cookie candle going. I watched my first Christmas movie yesterday. I love like the Netflix feel-good ones. I watched the one about Lindsay Lohan, that has Lindsay Lohan in it. Wasn't bad. But yeah, I'm just so cozy. It's also, I'm just gonna jump right into our life updates before we even get into the episode. You saw what it's about. You saw the title, the thumbnail. You know what we're doing. I'll explain in more detail in a second. But in terms of life updates, guys, our heater. So I guess that they were doing like a regular checkup on our HVAC on Monday at like the house we rent. We found out that our heater is broken. So we are not allowed to turn our house up past, like, he said 62. AKA, it's freezing. I don't even have my house on 62 in the summer, right? This is a lot. This is a lot for me to take in. Well, on Saturday, which was yesterday, it snowed and got down to 20 degrees. Our landlord has to go through like a home warranty or something, so there's like a process before he can just fix it. So we're waiting to hear back from the warranty people, and meanwhile, we're freezing. It's just been a lot. It's been really cold, and I was kind of getting sick before, and now I just think I'm getting really sick. The flu has been really bad here in Lexington. That was one of the things that I had for my life update. That was probably the most like traumatizing thing. The next thing is 2023 branding. That is pretty much what I've been working on all week, is getting all of the branding together for 2023, kind of figuring out what the vibes are gonna be, if I'm gonna keep like the logo and everything the same, because when I started it and first got like the podcast cover and the Instagram and everything, it was like, I didn't know what I was gonna do with the podcast yet, you know? So now that I've evolved, I'm just deciding what I'm gonna keep, what I'm gonna move, and blah, blah, blah. No changes yet. It's not gonna be for a little while. Definitely, probably not until January, but just kind of sitting down and seeing where I'm at, writing down goals where I want to be, and everything in between that comes with that. So I can do a whole episode on what my 2023 goals are, personal and business wise, but just kind of figuring that out. And then the last thing that I wanted to kind of put in my life updates is I've obviously been really driven creatively, as well as like in general with work, but also mainly with my podcast. I've had so much creativity going on in terms of content and just like branding and all that, because it's what I've been working on. So I'll just like wake up in the middle of the night and put in my notes like an idea for a TikTok and things like that. So it's been really hard to not go and burn out pretty fast or be exhausted, because as you know from my burnout episode, I am still kind of recovering from some burnout. So I don't want to get right back in the same situation, so kind of forcing myself to rest has been hard, but it's also a nice change of pace. So that's pretty much it for my life updates. I don't know. I mean, things are good, but the heater thing, really, like my hands right now, they're freezing. They're literally freezing. We're also not in my studio because the bunnies heater, they have like their own mini heater, and they live in my studio, and it's kind of loud, and I didn't want to turn it off for the 45 minutes that it takes me to film or whatever, because they get really cold really fast, and bunnies are just really fragile when it comes to their temperature. I'll let you do your own research on it. I'm not going to talk your ear off, but yeah, they're really fragile. So it's honestly like really concerning. And my plants are dying. My plants that I love and adore more than life itself, my little Taurus sun energy. I put my heart and soul into these, and all it took was my heater breaking, and they are just not thriving. So yeah, say a prayer for that. But other than that, today's topic is about finding your calling, what you're meant to be doing, any, you know, whatever you want to call it, what you're gonna do for the rest of your life, or slash a significant period of time in your 20s, because I think that this is the time when most people find that, like between their 20s and their early 30s is when they're finding kind of what they're gonna do for the rest of their life and what their calling is, what they're passionate about. And it's really hard. No one knows what we're doing. We all pretend we know, but we all are just battling our own demons. So I thought it would be cool to do an episode on that. You know, I am 23, so obviously I don't have all the answers. I'm still going through it myself, and I think that I've done an episode on this before, but even since then I have so much more insight, and things have changed so much because since I graduated in May, things have just changed so much. I've grown so much, and some of these things might be repeat, but some of these things I think are genuinely like different, or a different take than what I had when I last talked about this. So at first I didn't really want to talk about it because I was like, you know, I'm still figuring this out. I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm doing or anything. But then I realized I was listening to no, it wasn't What We Said. I was listening to Skinny Confidential, and they had Shut the Kale, I think it was Shut the Kale Up that was on there. I literally listened to like 5 episodes in one day on Friday. And they were talking about how sometimes it's more important to talk about things when you're going through the storm rather than after you've gone through the storm and you're like completely through and you're like, yeah, LOL, like this happened. Even if it was traumatic or it was great, you know, regardless of the situation, sometimes it's better to talk about it when you're going through it. And so I felt like this is one of those things that I could be beneficial to you guys and give you my advice regardless. So yeah, if you don't know me, I'll give you a little backstory on who I am and kind of what criteria I have, or what I've been doing since I turned 20 and started kind of figuring out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Not only because it helps, but because I have a lot of new followers, subscribers, listeners, whatever you want to call it, since I last talked about this. So hi, I love you so much. Thank you for joining the community. So cool, so fun, so fresh. We have a good time over here. But my name is Grace. I am 23 years old, like I mentioned. I graduated from the University of Kentucky. I got 2 undergraduate degrees, one in equine science and one in community leadership and development. And then I turned right back around and 2 weeks later started their 1-year master's program for business administration. Graduated with that in May of this year, so May 2022. And since then, I have been trying to figure out my path. I've quit one job and started a new one in I started the new one in October, but I quit the old one in July. And so from July to October, I was just like really trying to figure out what I wanted. I was trying to heal burnout. I was going through shadow work, which if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like journaling. It's like therapy, but with yourself. So you're journaling kind of through therapy prompts. I'm doing a lot of that, trying to figure out health. So pretty much everything that every other 20-something-year-old is going through, I've been doing. So that's me. And that's kind of where I'm coming from when I talk about this. Now I'm working in sales, so I do that from 8 to 5. I've talked about that in a lot of my recent episodes, and I do the podcast when I'm not doing that. Let's get started. Like I said, we are going through this together. I got out my nifty notes. We are not, no, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have a pretty good hunch of what I want to do for the rest of my life, but you know that it's kind of like getting everybody else to be on board. Like, I feel like my calling, I always thought it was to do something where I had a large following. I used to tell people when I was little, I just wanted to inspire people. Like, I just want to inspire people to be better. I just want to inspire people to be their best selves, leave the earth a little better than I found it. I have always said that since I was like 6 years old. So when I was little, I wanted to be a singer. Unfortunately, I found out I couldn't sing, so then I wanted to be a college cheerleader. Unfortunately, I'm too clumsy for that. And then I eventually got into social media, ran a One Direction fan account that blew up, and I did like meet and greets. It was really fun, and I got a taste of kind of what it's like to be an influencer, except behind One Direction. Like, I wasn't like the face by any means, but it was one of those accounts where it was like I posted a picture on Instagram of like Harry, and then it would be like, today was a good day, did this at lunch, Grace, like, you know, just signs Grace, because I ran the account with my friend for a while, and then she jumped off, but I still kept it, so I would always sign. Anyway, that was kind of when social media started to become a thing, so I started going in that direction, and I never really gave my heart and soul into it, but I kind of thought to myself, like, this could definitely be what I want to do for the rest of my life. And like I said, I was really scared of what people thought, things like that. So I didn't fully 100% commit. I never posted consistently or anything like that. I would go through phases like over winter break and stuff. And then podcasting became a thing. And I wanted to start a podcast for a long time, but the question was like, I don't know what I would talk about. Like, I started listening to What We Said. That was the first podcast I ever listened to. Right after, like, it'd probably been around for like 6 months to a year at that point. And I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, this is so fun, so fresh. But my best friend and I are kind of different. She's a coal miner. So when I started talking about this, she and I knew that she was going to be moving to Alabama to work. And so we were like, and then like, obviously her interests are different than mine, which is fine. But with that, you know, interest being different, her being in a different place, us being very busy and having such different career paths. I was doing horses, she was doing coal mining. I kind of knew that if I had a podcast, it wasn't gonna be at the level, like if we did one, we would probably only do episodes like once every 2 weeks. And I wanted to do something that was very, very consistent. So maybe like one day we could do it, but I wanted to have a podcast where I could get it going and it could be like my first baby, so to speak. And then when I have this one solidly, I could maybe have a second one where I only post on that one like once every 2 weeks or something. So then I toyed with the idea of a podcast. And do you guys see, if you're watching this, you just see my dog's ears right now. He is just having a good time. Come here, Lou. But anyway, I decided that I was gonna have to do the podcast by myself. And I think that was kind of liberating because I didn't think I was capable. Like, I'm very entrepreneurial. I've started a couple businesses and never actually launched them. Did all the research, got them ready, but I never really thought that I was capable of doing something on my own, I guess, like a self-esteem thing. So when I launched this was kind of me proving to myself that I can. I just woke up one day and was like, you know, we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna talk about all the things you're interested in. I'm a young girl in her 20s, so all the things I'm interested in, for the most part, are things that other girls are interested in that are my age. So I was like, you know, this will probably resonate, and you just need to do the damn thing. So Josh convinced me to like just send it, and I haven't missed an episode since, I don't think. I've been late, but I've never missed one. So started this in May, and this is my 41st episode, I believe, because I post every Wednesday and Sunday. But yeah, I know that like I think this is the platform that I'm using to inspire people, and like I think this is my calling, but it's just a matter of doing it full time, you know? Luna is just tip-tapping all over the floor. This is like what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, this is what intuitively feels right, but until it's full time, like obviously there's going to be some doubt and things like that. So that's kind of how I got here, and like I'll explain more as I go down the bullet points. But yeah, that's how I think this is what I'm meant to be doing, but it's just not that simple, unfortunately. The first thing I want to talk about is going to school and getting a degree. So I was terrified of growing up. I didn't want to graduate because I didn't like the idea of being put into a box. And I think that if you don't know what you want to do, you can kind of relate to that, where your degree is a specific thing and that's your thing. Like, you have a marketing degree, cool, you do marketing. You don't do nursing, you don't do horses, you don't do that, you do marketing. Like, you can do marketing for a nursing facility, but I don't know, like, you're just known as someone who does marketing. Like, that is you for the rest of your life, or your career, I guess. So for me, I was not comfortable with that, and I didn't want to be put into a box, because what if I didn't want to be in that box? Like, I don't know what I want to do. This was before I figured out the podcast thing. Like, what do? I don't want to be put into a box, because I don't know what box I want to do. Honestly, I got my first 2 degrees because I had a 4-year scholarship and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I got equine, ended up finishing early, and I had the CLD minor. So I just switched that to a major and kept on trucking. And then when that ended, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get my master's, because I still don't know what I want to do, and I'm terrified of graduating and having to grow up and be put into a position that I don't want to do, or I find out that I'm not meant to be doing this or anything like that. So what I'm gonna say is, education is great. College is great. It's not for everyone, but if you are in college, that's great. I'm not gonna tell you it's wrong. However, being scared to grow up or be in the real world, quote unquote, outside of that structured system of education should not be your only reason to go to college. You should be going because you want to learn something. You should be going because, you know, maybe you knew what you wanted to do at the time, and so you pursued that degree, and then later on you found out. Like, the only reason shouldn't be because you're scared, and that was my only reason for pursuing my master's. And now I have like $70,000 in student debt from that one degree. So was it worth it? Yes. I learned so many invaluable things, but I don't know, because the only reason I went in was because I was scared. And I don't even know if it helped me get the job I have now. It may have helped me get in the door, but I don't really use it, so to speak. Like, I'm doing sales, which is kind of what people do when they don't know what they want to do, which is kind of like a joke that I have with all the other salesmen, LOL. But next bullet point. The only way that you're going to find out what you want to do if you have no idea is to be open to trying new things. And I know you've probably heard this, but you're not going to find what you want to do for the rest of your life behind a closed door. So whether that's trying, you know, shadowing a ton of jobs, trying a new major, not even switching your whole major. I went to a lot of clubs and learned about it. Do you know, I used to go to Katie's, that's my best friend. I used to go to her mining stuff just to learn about it, just to see what was, you know, I went to Mine Rescue, I went to Woman in Mining, I went to SME, like all of these different mining organizations. I would go to a couple of their meetings just because I was interested in learning about it. And just because I'm an equine major doesn't mean I'm not allowed to go to these things. I don't know, I might not be able to go to like competitions or anything. I don't know, that might be a requirement, but just branch out. Like, you don't stay in your box. If anything even remotely interests you, talk to someone about it. Go to the career fair for that and talk to a professional about it. They are more than happy to talk to you. If you're not in school and you still want to try new things, literally just go and talk to people. DM people on Instagram. Go to the businesses and say, hey, I saw you run this boutique. I'm so interested in doing that. Hey, I saw that you do this. Message people on Facebook that you know that are in that career. With social media, you can talk to anybody about anything. So don't be afraid to branch out. And maybe you have no idea. Absolutely no idea. That's okay. But have a mindset of, I'm going to try new things, and not be closed off, because I promise you, it's going to make all the difference. I have tried so many different things. I've done marketing, I've done sales, I've done recruiting, I've done HR. I've done so many different things, and I kind of enjoyed all of them, which made me feel like I would be a good business owner, because it is a little bit of everything when you're a smaller business. And that's kind of how I got to this conclusion, which I already knew, but it's important to do that. Internships, by the way, if you are doing an internship, like, do internships in college, because you can do internships they're only like 1 semester long usually, and you can do an internship for marketing, you can do an internship for vet, you can do an, you know, vet tech, you can do an internship for this and that, and sometimes you have to have a degree that aligns with that. But like equine was the degree you had to have, but we had internships for veterinarian, marketing, sales, teaching, literally everything. So internships are your best friend if you're in college and you don't know what you want to do, because it genuinely makes a difference. So the next point that I'm still learning and is really, really difficult, maybe the most difficult thing on here, is nope, wrong one, started reading the wrong one. You need to tune out society and the pressures that come with it and follow your intuition. So for me, I have had to tune out so many people. Society, thinking that people are gonna make fun of me for having a podcast is one aspect. Also the pressures from my family or my friends or whoever to say like, oh, that little podcast that you're doing, like, not taking me seriously. Like, the pressure to focus on different, more traditional things. Like, there's always gonna be pressures. And as a woman, especially in this day and age, I feel like there's that whole other pressure of get married and have babies. Why are you even working? You're just gonna be a stay-at-home mom. Or the opposite of don't be a stay-at-home mom. You have to work. You have to prove this tradition wrong. When, like, just don't listen to that. Don't listen to everybody telling you, like, in your ear. Follow your intuition. Oh, my ring just went off because I was moving. Like, follow your intuition, you know? And I'm not gonna speak for you. I can't tell you how intuitive you naturally are. You probably have an inkling. I'm extremely intuitive. I always have been. If you're into astrology, I'm a Cancer moon. That tells you everything you need to know. But I can't tell you how intuitive you are. But I can tell you that listening to your intuition and that gut feeling is the best thing you could do for yourself. But you can't hear it if everybody else is talking in your ear. All I can tell you is that your intuition knows what you're meant to be doing. It's like how I told you that deep down I knew I was going to be doing something along these lines, but I didn't know exactly what. That guided me. And there were times when my intuition was kind of like, yeah, I need to take this internship. Yeah, you should do that. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. Like, and I thought, what does this have to do with that passion that I have, or that excitement that I have for social media or podcasting, inspiring people? Like, this has nothing to do with that. But you gotta trust that all of it's for a reason. Like, you're gaining a skill, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's all gonna come together at the end, and you're gonna be like, dang, I'm really glad I did that because that taught me this, or that gave me this connection, or now I'm here. So basically, what I'm telling you is you need to take some time to get to know yourself and how to know what you're like, listen to your own voice. Basically, you need to learn how to know what you're saying. So whether that's through meditating, whether that's through not listening to music and just letting things be quiet for a minute, you can't really, it's really hard to listen to yourself and hear your inner voice when there's constantly so much going on and you're frantic and you're running from one place to the other. It's just like, you just need to take a minute. You know, take a minute, be present, have a calm moment in the silence, and that's when you will begin to hear your voice. It's gonna be really quiet at first. So your inner voice is gonna be really quiet at first. It's not gonna be like you sit down for 5 minutes in the silence and all of a sudden you're gonna hear it. But eventually it's gonna become easier and easier. It just takes time. And I can do a whole episode on finding your intuition. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. I'm not gonna talk your ear off about it. I have so many points to get through, but it's so important in this time in your life to start listening to yourself and stop listening to everybody else's opinion, because the only place it's gonna get you is everybody else's idea of where you should be and not your own. If they don't align, then stop listening. I'm telling you, there's no reason to listen. Like, you're just gonna have to do your own thing. You can take their advice, but it shouldn't be your only option, especially if you have a gut feeling telling you that they're wrong. So what I'm gonna say next is, yes, you are stressed and anxious and confused, but also you're only gonna be this age once. You're only gonna be young once. You're only gonna have this little of responsibility compared to what you have when you're older and you have like mortgage and house and a family if you want that. All of the other things that come. You're only gonna be here in this moment once. So have fun along the way and don't get so caught up in that anxiety, because I've been there too. I've backed myself into a corner. I've disassociated. I've done all the things, and part of that is from my mental health. Thanks God for that one. Shout out to you, making me stronger. But some of that is things that everyone can kind of do, and they're, you know, everyone gets a little anxious. Everyone can get caught up in the stress of not knowing what you're going to do for the rest of your life, but you're only going to be this age once, so don't let that overcome you and scare you and talk you out of having fun and going out with your friends and stuff, because it has me, and I regret it so much, and it's one thing I'm also working on. One thing I've talked about on this podcast so many times is flowing and not forcing. So this is kind of along with having fun. Like, don't force things to happen. You shouldn't be forcing things into existence. You should just be going with the flow, and as doors open and doors closed, that's great. Like, you're not forcing your career to pop up, because the more that you give off that energy of like desperation and not having it, the more you're gonna push it away. You should just be flowing and being like, I know it's gonna come my way. Everything's gonna be fine. And then that's when it's gonna come. Like, I promise you. It's like everyone says that they find a boyfriend when they're not looking for a boyfriend. It's exactly like that. When you are busy doing life is when life happens. So don't sit there and freak out and force everything to happen just the way you want it, in the exact moment you want it, at the exact time. When I'm this age, this is gonna happen. Then when I'm this age, this is gonna happen, because maybe it happens that way, but not necessarily. So don't get super caught up with that. You should be flowing and more flexible to the situations that arise than just forcing things to happen, and every time something doesn't go the way you wanted it to, you freak out. That's just not, I get it, I want to do that, but that's just not realistic, and it's gonna lead to a lot more heartache, it's gonna lead to a lot more anxiety, it's gonna lead to a lot more things that you don't necessarily need nor want. Something super important is you don't know what you don't know. So I can only make decisions based off of the lessons that I've learned and the information that I have right now. I am probably gonna look back in 5 years, and am I gonna be like, man, I did every single thing right, I made every single decision correctly, I was so on point? Probably not. I'm sure there's at least one thing that I'm gonna be like, why did I do that? It's like looking back in middle school, like on your middle school days, and being like, why did I post that selfie? Why did I wear that? Why did I get that haircut? You thought it was an amazing idea at the time. Life is definitely like that. So don't beat yourself up because you picked a major that you ultimately don't align with. You chose a job that you thought you wanted, and 2 months in, it's not for you. You can't beat yourself up on things that you don't know until you know. So that's really important, and I just want to give you like that encouragement. We're all just doing our best, and you can't beat yourself up because you have the information now that you didn't have then. That's just not fair to yourself. So something that's really important is get a mentor, whether that's in life, whether that's in a career choice that you are interested in pursuing, but be honest and don't feel like you always have to take their advice. I have a business mentor. My dad and I talk about business a lot, and he owns a couple businesses, been there, done that. But I have not taken his advice before, and it's turned out great. At the end of the day, you have to remember that no one else in this moment will ever be you and has ever been you, and that's something important. Like, did our parents go to college? Some of them. Were our parents 20? Yes, at one point they were. But they also grew up in a different era. They grew up maybe in a different country. They grew up in a different culture. There are different things happening today than there were then. We are in different eras or major happenings, you know, major parts of history than we were then. And it's not just about major parts of history. Look at 2022, the laws. Look at this, what's accepted in society. Look at just what's available to you in terms of social media. None of that was available to them. They didn't have LinkedIn to just message anybody. So no one is ever gonna be you in this moment right now. And at the end of the day, you probably know what's best for you, but their advice can unlock new insight to your situation. So yes, take their advice when it feels right, but don't feel like you always have to, because I know I really appreciate the advice that my family, my mentors, anything like that give me, but I also know that it's okay to tell them no, which took a really long time to figure out. So like I mentioned with flowing and not forcing, your mindset, Luna's butt is just all up in this camera right now. Your mindset is literally everything. How you view the situation is everything. If you sit there and think, I am so stressed, I am never gonna find my calling in life, I should just give up, nothing excites me, I don't know what career I'm gonna do, I don't know why I'm doing this, I should just drop out. If you just think all of that, do you think everything's gonna go right? Because even if a good thing happens, are you gonna notice it? Or are you still gonna be being like, well, no, life still sucks? Like, that's just, mindset is so important. It's really important for you to keep the mindset, mantra, life motto, whatever you want to call it, that everything is going to be fine. That's one of mine. Being grateful for what you do have is super important. I may not want to do sales forever. I don't know. I could see myself doing that 10 years from now. Obviously, the podcast I would like to do with it in 10 years, but I do enjoy it. But I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, like I said. Even with the uncertainty, saying I love the career that I'm currently in, I am financially stable. Even if you're not, having a mindset that you are helps. I'm great. Life is good. Everything's going great. I am so grateful for my family's health, my pets' health. my friend's health. But it's important to have a good mindset, and when you're uncertain about your career, focus on the things that you are certain about. Like, I love my family, I love my friends, I love this. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna find a career I love. All of those things, they're all very important. Sorry, the whole house being frozen is just really getting me. But yeah, that's just so important when it comes to mindset. So next is, don't put limits on your abilities, your location, literally anything. It's hard enough that you don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life. Don't put more limits on it and say, oh, it has to be in this small city or this town, and it has to be doing this exact thing or in this industry, because it doesn't work like that. Like, life is gonna throw things at you that you actually probably would love, but you're limiting yourself to what's comfortable to you. And uncomfort is where that's not, I don't think that's a word. Is that a word? Someone Google that and DM me. When you're uncomfortable is when you're gonna grow. So that means that opportunities are gonna come that you may not be comfortable with, but that could be what you end up doing for the rest of your life. So don't be closed off to things simply because they're out of your comfort zone. Another important thing is to research, but don't obsess. So you can research what careers you want to be in. For me, I love researching how to have a successful podcast platforms, how to join these platforms, how to work on branding, how SEO strategies, how has algorithms changed in 2022, and how are they going to change in 2023? There's so many different things to research, but I also can't sit here and obsess over it, because what is that gonna help? You know, I've found that when you obsess, you kind of neglect other parts of your life, like your health, your family, your friends, socializing, anything like that. And that doesn't help anything. Regardless of how much you research it, life's gonna keep going. The podcast is either gonna grow, or it's gonna stay the same, or it's gonna not. What's the opposite of grow? Fizzle out? I don't know. What's the scientific term? Fizzle out. Excellent work, Grace. No, but no matter how much I research it, it's still gonna happen, and I can implement strategies, but at the end of the day, like, is it more important to sit there and implement every strategy under the sun, or is it more important to hang out with your family and eat right and exercise and things like that? Because life's gonna keep going no matter what. Podcast is gonna keep going no matter whether I implement a new strategy tonight or look at it tomorrow. So it's okay to research different avenues and talk to people and reach out to people, but don't obsess over it. Still make sure that you're making time for the important things in life, like friends and family and all that, because at the end of the day, like, a job is just a job, and it can be extremely emotional, it can be sentimental, it can be the best thing ever, but it's still your career over your family. Create an ideal path. So for me, ideally, the podcast would go viral tomorrow. I would do it full time, right? That would be ideal for how I'm feeling and what my passions are going towards in this moment right now. However, don't be afraid to completely scratch that plan. So, you know, right now, that's my feelings. But when I'm at work and I'm in a meeting and I'm hanging out with my coworkers and I'm having a good time, I sit around there and look around and say, man, I could do this for the next 10 years. I really enjoy this. And then that kind of becomes my plan. And maybe don't be that flexible. Maybe don't switch your plan depending on what location you're in, but make a plan. Maybe you're interested in this career, build a plan around it and say, I want to be promoted at this time, I want to be this, and get really structured and ambitious and disciplined about how you're going to get there and the goals you need to achieve. But then if you decide you don't like the plan, or you decide you don't want to do that career, scratch it. There's nothing wrong with scratching it. There is nothing wrong with saying, this is not for me. New plan, rip off that piece of paper, go back to the drawing board and keep going. That is super important, to still have goals and still have discipline and still feel like you're working towards something, even though you know that if something were to happen, you're able to change it. It's not permanent. Like I mentioned earlier about not obsessing, make sure that you're prioritizing your health, because your health is something that can prolong your life. It makes you happier, it affects your emotions, your mood, your brain activity. So make sure you're learning how to eat correctly, how much sleep you need, putting exercise into your diet, mentally making sure that you're good through meditation or whatever you need to be doing, whether that's therapy. eating foods that align with certain mental activity, all of that, as well as spirituality. If you are someone who really connects with that, I think everyone connects with spirituality in some way, not always with religion, but I think everyone has their own version of spirituality that they connect with. So making sure you're feeding all of these areas, and of course the wellness wheel, which I've talked about before, and hitting all of those areas and making habits that last for that while you're still young and healthy and all that good stuff, and you're prioritizing it because your health matters more than your career. Basically, I mean, you living matters more than the money you make. I know that people really have a tough time understanding that today, but it's true. In my opinion. You may have a different opinion, but I feel like your health, you are more important than the money that you have or your net worth. Okay? So make sure you're prioritizing your health and treating yourself that way. Next, don't let anyone, literally anyone, I don't care if it's your mom, I don't care if it's your dad, I don't care if it's your professor, your best friend, your sibling, your dog, I don't care who it is. Do not let anyone tell you that you are incapable of pursuing a career path. How many people have told me I shouldn't do a podcast, I shouldn't do a YouTube, I shouldn't focus on social media? Influencers aren't real. Influencers are luck. That's pure luck, Grace. And I say, well, you know what? Then I'm about to be lucky. I'm the luckiest person around, because anyone can do it. Anyone can do anything. You just have to put your mind to it. And it's like, maybe when it comes to talents, like singing and being a cheerleader and all that, like maybe you're not talented in that area, but you can do something similar to that. Like maybe I won't be a singer, but I'm pretty good at acting. Like I'm pretty good at it. I didn't really pursue a career in it, but I could do it. Like there are different ways to get things done, and don't let anyone tell you you can't pursue a career path. Maybe you have to tweak the idea a little bit, but you can do anything you set your mind to. And if anyone tells you you can't, then screw them and prove them wrong. Don't actually screw them like literally, but like screw them metaphorically and prove them wrong. You know, like Taylor Swift, vigilante shit, revenge, you know, revenge motivation. We talked about that in the Midnight thing. Like there's nothing better than being motivated by revenge. Proving someone wrong gets you everywhere, I promise. So on that same note, if you don't know what you want to do, or you find out that what you want to do, you just like singing, where I'm not very good at it. Like there are a lot of jobs that I believe that people would be good at, but they are closed off to it because they don't think that they would enjoy it. But I think they would. So a way to get around this that people don't really think about is write a list. So maybe you thought that you would hate this job, but when you sit down and look at the job responsibilities and skills and break it down to like what it actually is, you would enjoy it. Hear me out. I didn't think I would like sales. I didn't think it, because like calling people and having like commission, like I have too much anxiety for all that. But then I sat down and I said, okay, I want a job where I get to interact with people, I get to make a difference, I get to have problem solving, I get to be creative. And that could be marketing, if you are doing PR where you're like talking to people. That could be sales, that could be podcasting, that could be literally so many things. So what I did was I made a list of what I enjoy doing. I didn't say, I really like marketing, I really like graphic design, I really like designing different stuff for the podcast on the Instagram, but at the end of the day, I could have just put, I like art. And to get down to it, I like being creative. And that opens up your doors to so many different options. And it no longer becomes, I want to do graphic design. It becomes, I want to be creative and create things that are visually appealing. That just makes so many more options available to you. So if you don't know what you want to do, make a list of the things the traits that you think you would enjoy doing in a job, whether that's talking to people, whether that's literally talking to no one, and seeing what jobs align. Go through Indeed or your school's career fair or anything. Look at the positions available and see what aligns with your top 5 or whatever of things that you want to do in a job on a vague, more general level than what you've previously been looking for. So kind of talking about the whole you don't know what you don't know, it's also important to know that you're gonna change as you grow. So don't beat yourself up for that. Maybe you no longer are interested in doing something you were, and it has nothing to do with what you know, and you don't regret it, but you just decide one day, like, man, I actually don't want to do this. Why did I do this? You've grown out of it. You've grown, okay, to grow out of a job or friendships or literally anything. It's not okay to beat yourself up for growing out of it. So that's really important to remember, that you're going to grow out of situations or careers or anything, occupations, any of that. And you shouldn't be upset or mad at yourself because you're changing, because everyone does that. And it's not a bad thing. It means that you're doing it right. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're finding new things. You're expanding your mind. And you should never, ever tear yourself up for that. You should definitely find a group that's in a similar place, whether that's in their career, whether that's in their life, whatever. They have some similarities in their situation to you. Maybe it might not be the exact same thing, where they know kind of what they want to do, but they don't know how they want to apply their list into the world. Maybe you have no idea. You can't even come up with a list. You can still find a group of people like that are kind of similar, that you can be honest with, you can talk about your struggles with, you can do all of that with, and they're kind of like your support system through this. Because like I mentioned, your parents may not understand. Your friends who went to nursing school and are now nurses, and they've known since they wanted to do that since they were 10, they probably won't understand what you're going through. I know my sister did that. She wanted to be a nurse and she could literally talk, went to nursing school, and guess what? She's now a nurse. Like, she probably has no idea what the heck I'm doing. Why have she's had the same job pretty much since she graduated. I think she switched like departments, but she has the same job. I've not done that. So some people just aren't gonna get it, and you can't expect them to get it if they haven't been there or haven't had similar thoughts or feelings. So it's important to find people that have, and gravitate towards them and trust them and get advice from them, because they're gonna be in the most similar place to you probably ever out of anyone that you could find. Even then, though, they may have grown up with a different economic status and different number of siblings and different city. All of that plays a role, but it's more similar than your parents or someone who doesn't know what you're going through, even if your parents didn't know what they wanted to do, because they grew up in a different, we already talked about the whole era thing. I'm kind of going on a tangent with this, so we're just going to go to the next bullet point. When you are in a position and you know that it's not what you want to do for the rest of your life, don't feel like you're wasting time. Just remember that it's a step in the process. It's important. It's just as important as getting to being in that spot where you know you're like, I could do this for the rest of my life. It's just as important. You're learning something. So don't sit there and be like, I'm wasting time, this sucks because I've been there. You don't need to be like that. You're not wasting time. It's super important, and it's another step in the process. Another important thing is to have a routine, because you are going through a phase where you're confused, you don't know what's going on, you're anxious, you are trying to figure things out. So you need stability in other aspects of your life. So whether that's making the bed, going to the gym at the same time every day, eating at the same time every day, some sort of routine that resonates with you to give yourself some sort of normalcy, because everything around you is transitioning and changing so much. It's just part of being in your 20s that it's important to have something to keep you sane. I promise you, it makes all the difference. The last thing that I had to add, because you guys know, you just know I had to, is we are happy, free, confused, and lonely in the best way. Thank you, Taylor Swift 22 off of Red, Taylor's version. That is all. That is literally all that I have. It's a crazy time, it's a confusing time. You may hate it, you may love it. But regardless of how you feel about it, this is hopefully gonna help you navigate it. So I don't know, I'm kind of talking gibberish at this point. Like I mentioned, I'm getting kind of sick from the heater. Did I mention that? That I feel like I might be getting the flu? I think I did. It's not exactly a fun situation to be in, but I'm gonna take my candle that I have going upstairs to my bed. I'm gonna edit this in my bed, and then I'm gonna post this from my bed. So don't forget to leave a rating and review if you enjoyed this. If you are on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment down below telling me what you thought, what was your favorite topic that I went over, what do you do to help you get through this confusing time, literally whatever, just say hi. If you are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, all of that fun stuff, like I said, leave a rating and review. If you leave your Instagram, I will shout you out, or you can DM me on Instagram all of your thoughts. I would love to hear about it. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. That is where I am mainly posting when I am not here. Obviously I post shorts on the YouTube as well, but they're all recycled from my TikTok. LOL. Love that. I think that is it. I love you guys so much. We are gonna get through this together, I promise you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, all of those things. Regardless, you know, whatever platform you're on, show some love. I really would love for you to join the community that I have going. We're all that girls that are working to become our own version of the word. So you don't have to be the girl that drinks matcha at 6 a.m. But if you are, also love that for you. We are non-judgmental. We are just helping you reach your goals regardless of what they are. So you can join us on any of the platforms, but we would love to have you. And I love you so much. If you're watching this on Sunday, have a great night. If you're watching this at any other day, I will see you soon. And I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night. And yeah, new episodes go up every Sunday and Wednesday. I love you so much, and I'll see you in my next episode. I have astigmatism, so the flash is just, yeah, no, okay. Love you guys. Bye.